Welcome to Speaking Highly with Jon Huck. I am Jon Huck, and joining me as always, because he makes the wheels go, Indy Fawcett.
How you doing, John?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Good. I am super excited for today. I mean, we got
today
an
is going
SNL
to be great
here. Yeah,
and we're talking about the original cast, the first 5 years of SNL, and we're really focusing on one guy because he is the guest today, but I do want to talk about the show in general. But we have Garrett Morris as our guest. Just a tremendous, he's one of the original 7 cast members, what they're called the Not Ready for Primetime players, was Jane Curtin, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, Chevy Chase, and Lorraine Newman, and Garrett Morris. So 7 people. He was the Gilda Radner being the first one cast. Garrett was the last one cast, hired as a writer originally, and then became a cast member.
Talk about a 7 to be a part of. Like, that's so many heavy hitters there. Yeah,
it's insane how talented that. I mean, first of all, us covering the first 5 years of SNL this is not any kind of a bash on anything that came after this. I am still a fan of Saturday Night Live. I can't imagine when people really shit on the show. It makes me laugh because those people could never put out a live show every week, no matter what the content.
Yeah, it's easy to bash.
Much less make it funny. Yeah. Much less make it funny so that all of America laughs at the same time. It's like you can't please everybody. But that show, 1975, it happened to have come out 6 months before I was born, or after I was born. So I was born, then SNL happened. So I always look at, like, when SNL turned 40, I was turning 40. So I was like a bit, it's a thing. My parents enjoyed the early stuff.
It's all because of you, John.
And then I made it happen. But it really, the 90s was like my time for SNL. I had a friend who would record VHS record the episodes, and then we'd get drunk or high and watch them later and just laugh because that was Farley, Sandler, Spade. You know what I mean? This is like Phil Hartman, like, again, like equatable
that was the
to
Down
the
by the
original
River
cast.
Era, right?
God damn, Matt Foley, Chris Farley, one of my favorites ever, dude. One of my favorites ever. But the original cast, I mean, the stuff they did, and we talk about this with Garrett. I ask him, like, how back then, what it's like, the difference, and he, rightfully so, it's different. There's no reason to compare him. He says it's like, why? They didn't have any. They were doing something that was not comparable. The shows that came before SNL were things like Sid Caesar's Show of Shows. Like, they were sketch shows. Jack Benny. They had sketches, technically, but they weren't as biting or satirical or as current as SNL. SNL became something like, you see it on the news on Tuesday, they're going to have a sketch for it on Saturday night, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but back then they didn't have, like, it was growing its legs, right? Like, they didn't even know what the show was going to be until it,
that
multiple
was just
seasons
it,
in,
man.
right? Yeah.
They didn't. The first season was so bizarre. They have, like, it's a mixture of sketches and puppets and short films and, like, monologues, and Andy Kaufman comes out and sings Mighty Mouse, and it's like, it was these things that, to Lorne Michaels' credit, he had seen out there in the world of comedy and then thought that he could give them a place to be, and on national television. It's such an odd time slot to think about now, like, 11:30 on a Saturday. We don't watch TV like that now. We don't watch, that if you miss SNL, you're going to watch all the clips on Hulu the next day.
Right.
But back then, man, people gathered. You had to be at your TV. You had to watch it. It was the beginning, for me, it was the beginning of what appeared to be rock and roll comedy. You can be Like the Blues Brothers came out of SNL. The Blues Brothers, I love the movie. I love the music. That came out of this comedians wanting to be rock stars. It's a thing. It's always, I play the guitar. I've sang in bands.
Same.
I love that shit.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's just I don't want to lug my guitar or an amp or get a van or have to deal with other people's schedules.
You need roadies without having to do the work of actually earning roadies.
Dude, you're my roadie now. Here's the deal.
Oh shit! I didn't.
Dude, you drop off drives at my house.
That's
You've
true.
brought the gear. Like the only reason we're doing this is because you know how this stuff works. It's like that Tenacious D song, Roadie.
Yeah.
You make the
living
podcast
embodiment
go.
of the dude.
Absolutely. The original cast, Lorraine Newman, was from Los Angeles. She's the only one that was from California. The rest of them, Belushi is from Wheaton, Illinois, which is where basically I am from. We went to the same high school. My John Belushi, actually, the story I was told, punched a friend of mine's dad in the face when he made fun of Judy Belushi before they were married in high school.
Oh my god.
So I have a friend named Jason whose dad is no longer with us, but his claim to fame for a time for me was that he was punched in the face by John Belushi for mouthing off to his girlfriend.
What an accolade. Love that.
Yeah, right? Jane Curtin is from Massachusetts. Dan Aykroyd is from Ottawa, Canada. Go Senators. Gilda Radner's from Detroit. Chevy Chase is from Manhattan. Of course he is. Garrett Morris is from New Orleans. Lorne Michaels is from Toronto. Boo the Maple Leafs. Dick Ebersol is from Connecticut. He was a main producer on the show as well when it started. Of all those people, they're all from snowy areas, except for Lorraine Newman and Garrett Morris. I have a theory. It's unproven? I have an unproven theory that started when somebody I was talking to somebody at an airport bar. I made a joke. He said, "Oh, basement humor." And I said, I thought he was talking shit to me.
Right.
I'm like, wow, am I going to have to fight a dude at an airport bar now? So I was like, what? And he goes, "Where are you from?" And I go, "I'm from Illinois." And he goes, "Right. What did you do in the winter?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You went to the basement, right?" I'm like, "Well, a lot of times." He goes, "And when you're hanging out in the basement with your friends, what do? You bust balls. You make fun of each other." You know what I mean? And it's like,
So yeah, it wasn't
true.
a knock on you.
It wasn't a knock on me. It was kind of when people are like, "Oh, there's so many comedians come from Chicago and Canada," and it's I believe that when you get together with your friends, given the right circumstance, you can laugh pretty fucking hard at just making fun of each other. And from there, you can grow that in terms of your sense of humor, in terms of how you deliver your jokes, in terms of what works and what doesn't in your voice.
Right.
And
no, I think the environment definitely shapes, not necessarily your personality, but I guess the energy levels. And I guess, everybody's different. Obviously, like Garrett, like who's going to come out, is extremely, type A, but coming out of New Orleans. But like, I'm definitely a proof case of this because I grew up in San Diego and I'm soft as hell. So I'm like, do whatever you want. I don't have no opinions.
San Diego. Dude, you're not allowed to. San Diego is like, yeah, sure, I guess,
great,
whatever.
Let's do it, man. Yeah.
Because you never had to be like, no, I'm not standing out here anymore because it's fucking freezing.
Right.
You've never been forced to smoke cigarettes outside when it was negative 20.
Yeah.
But it's like that Rush song, dude. Subdivisions. You ever heard that
Oh,
song?
yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah.
In the basement bars, in the backs of cars.
Hell yeah.
Be cool or be cast out. Look, I watched that Rush documentary last night, and I am fucking pumped for some Rush now. And my buddy Tim used to always talk about this. We were very fortunate one day I was sitting around in our apartment. My roommate guy I moved out here with, a friend of mine. And he called me. He's like, "Hey, I got a call. A dude we knew, a mutual friend, was PAing some award show at the Gibson Amphitheater, which was 15 minutes from our apartment. And he called Tim to see if we wanted to meet Black Sabbath. And I, of course, want to meet Black Sabbath.
Oh, yeah.
This is the original lineup was playing this award show, and they were doing a sound check while everyone was loading in that day. Wow. We went there. We were there in 20 minutes. I had on, the dude handed me a lanyard and a plate of bread and cheese. And I walked into the green room. And I was like, I have the bread and cheese. And Ozzy looked up. He was like, all right. And then Tony was tuning his guitar. And I just stared at him. And he was like, okay. And then Kelly this is before the Osbournes was a show. Kelly was on the couch doing her homework. And Sharon was there helping her. And like,
that's insane.
And the rest of the band, Geezer, the band was there in the room all together. And I just put the cheese thing on the bar. And then I just stood there and go, do you guys need anything else? And they were like, okay, thanks. And then I was like, I didn't want to leave the room, but I didn't want to say anything. I was just so uncomfortable. But after that, on that drive home after that day, because we sat and watched them play Paranoid in an empty amphitheater with just the crew loading in and some random people that he knew. And they played the song 4 or 5 times. It was fucking awesome. Dude, it was awesome. And on the way home, my buddy Tim was like, this is the kind of stuff that will keep us going. Like, these are the perks. Like, we were PAs at the time, production assistants. We were making very little money, doing thankless work, working long hours, and all of a sudden we got to do that, and it made everything prior to that worth it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's what you're doing, because, like, you know, you're not in this industry if you don't like it. You know?
No.
Like that, if you're not getting paid for something, you're getting paid for very little for something, you better like doing it. Or like you better enjoy those moments, right? Where you can be in an opportunity where you can be around those people, right?
Enjoy the moments and don't let the money thing drive you, because it's a bad device. It's a bad thing to focus on. But
anyway, our Patreon,
you do need it to survive. Yeah, I got it, dude. I get it. I want to run an idea for you, but
that's
Patreon later. But yeah, but that kind of perk is what I equate to meeting Garrett Morris was for me. Brian Irwin, who I hosted a show called the Hollywood Anonymous podcast with. Yeah, HA. If you still online, and I'm going to encourage people to go and check out episode 110, because we only did like 199 episodes, but 110 was the Garrett Morris episode. He came to Brian's house, and the three of us sat down and just shot the shit for like 2 hours.
That's so cool.
I met Garrett before that through Brian at Garrett's Comedy Club downtown, which when I call it a club, and people I think assume, oh, comedy club, there's money coming in. I'm talking exposed wiring. I'm talking like it looked like a coffee bar that had shut down and been boarded up and that we snuck into to do comedy in. But I met Garrett.
Comedy.
Dude, basically, I met Garrett through Brian Irwin at his comedy club. And honestly, it took me going up one time for Garrett to come up to me afterwards and go, dude, funny, like, come back anytime. Anytime you want a spot, let me know. And he was true to that. I mean, Kevin, his assistant and co-owner of the club, was also super kind to me and did the phoning and let me, when I called, I'd call Kevin, not Garrett. But it was just one of those things. Like, I'm like, now I'm friends with Garrett Morris. And like, it's just such a bizarre, it's the thing that keeps you doing the thing, man.
Right. It's years and years of another stepping stone, another stepping stone, another stepping stone, you know? And then eventually you look back and you're at a summit, even though there's multiple summits ahead of you to go, you know, you still can look back and go, wow, okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going on this path. Yeah.
It really is about the journey.
Yeah.
And the people and the things you get to do and the people you meet along the way. And I want to say don't focus so much on arriving, but you are arriving at every moment, at every second. And just take note of that. And don't think about, I got to get somewhere, because as you're living your life, that's when life happens, not when you get somewhere.
Yeah. Well, fear and doubt is based in past or present, right? In the moment, you're fine. It's just you're thinking about the future or what might happen, or you think about the past of what already happened, and you might think it happened again. It's all in the present. If you just get quiet, you're fine.
Boom. You know? That is 100% accurate. Think about, if you're ever stressing, think about where you are in the moment. Are you in any danger? Yeah. Are you being crushed by a piano?
And if you are, then you're right to feel that way.
Act, right. Do something, fix the situation. My God, man. But Garrett, I just want to say that meeting Garrett, it's one of those things that is never going to be something that I take lightly or think,
Oh,
well,
God.
that was weird. It means a lot to be able to to call him and go, hey man, I got a podcast. Even though I explained the podcast to him, then he agreed to do it. Then he comes on and in the interview goes, what the fuck is this? And what are we doing?
That's Garrett, man.
No idea.
It's great.
Dude,
He's
it definitely is. It definitely is. His credits, I mean, we're going to get back into SNL. His credits, like we talk about Cooley High from 1975, Car Wash 1976, and then everything on TV, man. Different Strokes, The Jeffersons, New Scooby-Doo, Murder, She Wrote, Hill Street Blues, It's Your Move with Jason Bateman, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, The Love Boat. Wow. And then he was in Critical Condition with Richard Pryor, which we talk about. 227, Who's the Boss, Married with Children. He was Sporty James on the show Hunter, which is my favorite character he did. He was in the movie Coneheads. He was on ER, The Wayans Brothers, Martin, Jamie Foxx Show, According to Jim, MacGyver from 2018, not the original. And then Two Broke Girls is where people might know him from.
Broke Girls. Wow, he was on that too?
Yeah, he was like one of the main guys on there. So just a career. And the people he knows, man, he mentions Bill Duke in the interview. We don't get into it, but Bill Duke is, I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I haven't heard of him.
Bill Duke, he's in Predator. Look him up.
Okay.
He is the guy, you've seen him in everything. But Bill Duke, I met Bill Duke through, would come to the club and watch us do comedy. I'm like, the dude from Predator
I know this
is
guy.
watching me do comedy, and then like Garrett Morris is sitting there, and then you're talking to him afterwards. Like, this is fucking insane.
That is insane.
It's very entertaining, and it's very fun. And again, Bill Duke, nice guy. At this point in Garrett's life, my guess is he doesn't associate with assholes. Meaning he's had to do that in the past. Admittedly, he's been an asshole in the past. And that's
I think, also like in the interview, you'll see, like, I think he's, an incredibly wise guy, with his age. Because like, even like when you ask him the question of like, is it better? Is it different? Like for SNL back then, as opposed to SNL now, he was very wise and about his reaction. Cause he's like, a few years ago, 10 years ago, I may have said, oh, it sucked, but whatever, the new stuff sucks. But like now, it does nothing to say it's bad or good. They're different things, right? And I think that's like different. A very advanced, human to even be able to stop themselves from even saying the first reaction that they have.
Yeah. I will say that my big regret now in hindsight is not asking him more about the musical guests on the show.
Yeah.
But
hey,
SNL premiered.
Future episode.
Yes. Well, definitely. He's a guy we could have back over and over again. SNL premiered October 11th, 1975. Again, 6 months after I was born. George Carlin was the first host. Billy Preston and Janice Ian were the first musical guests. And it was originally called Saturday Night because Howard Cosell had a show with the title Saturday Night Live. As soon as that was canceled, they took the name. NBC changed it. In the first 5 years, hosts included... let's see, Carlin, Lily Tomlin, Richard Pryor, who was the only one to ever be on a delay, Buck Henry, Desi Arnaz, Lucille Ball's husband, Ron Nessen, Madeline Kahn, Elliot Gould, Eric Idle from Monty Python, Steve Martin, and Buck Henry again, Paul Simon, Candice Bergen, Steve Martin again, Jack Burns, Buck Henry again, Steve Martin, Charles Grodin, Buck Henry, Steve Martin.
We just have to have an episode of the Steve Martin appearances with Garrett. Like that would have been those probably are interesting stories too.
Very interesting, just because he's Steve Martin.
Right.
I didn't know this, but Bill Murray came to SNL through the cast or through the writing department of that Howard Cosell show. I didn't know that, but that makes sense to me because Bill Murray is a sports nut. Like we were talking about in the beginning, it was more of a variety show, puppets. Jim Henson was doing things on there. Albert Brooks was making short films. They had a news segment. It combined everything, like current events with puppets and rock and roll. And it was just, I think they tried to make it super well-rounded at first, Gilda Radner was the first one hired. Writers. Yeah. I mean, that's the first hire. And Garrett was the last one hired. Again, he was hired as a writer. His story is interesting. I did not realize, I knew he was a playwright. He talked to me about that before. I didn't realize that the play that got him the writing gig on SNL is the same play he's editing now, which is fascinating to me.
That's insane. That's awesome.
And it's also, I think people might not know this about Garrett in particular, but he like sings. He's a singer.
Oh, wow.
He has an album out. Yeah, he has an album out.
Look that up.
I think if I'm not mistaken, my mother-in-law, I took my wife and my mother-in-law to a show I was doing at one of Garrett's rooms, and Bill Duke was there, and my wife's mom brought a record. She had a Garrett Morris record, and she's like, I was like, hey man, you want to sign this? And he goes, oh, what the fuck? He was like, oh God, he was like all embarrassed by
funny.
it. Because he's like, kind of looks like suave on the cover or whatever.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, it was just really funny. And now we're getting into it. It's like, yes, this is about SNL in the first 5 years, but it's also, this is a celebration of Garrett Morris essentially, because I mean, this dude he was, to me, tragically underused on SNL. Yeah. I think we kind of find out that he might have had something to do with that. You know what I mean? He could, his own worst enemy type deal, which I can relate to. Trying to think. I think
it speaks for itself. I think it's gonna be a fun interview. Yeah.
It really does. And when you're done watching this, or even before, whatever, go ahead and check out Hollywood Anonymous episode 110 with me and Brian Irwin, and you'll get even more of the Garrett Morris story. But like you said, Indy, I think we can have him back over and over again. So guys, please enjoy my conversation with Saturday Night Live legend, Garrett Morris.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, Garrett.
Yeah, who the fuck is this other guy here?
Indy.
Indy 500? Yeah, and Jon, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Get out of the light. By the way, peeping, Andre. Peeping.
Hey.
This is my nephew.
Yeah, I remember. I used to see you all the time.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Yeah.
Good to see you, dude.
I'm in elementary school when it comes to computers. I would not be talking to you right now were it not for my nephew.
Well, if I didn't have Indy, I wouldn't be able to do this either, man.
And let me ask you guys before we start, because if you answer wrong, I may not do this. Will this be seen in Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Texas, or Florida?
we do have listeners in those areas. Yeah.
They got bolos out for me in all those states. John.
They got what?
So don't recall.
Bolos?
Bolo. You know what a bolo is, you jailhouse motherfucker. Tell him what a bolo is.
What is it?
APB.
Okay. A bolo, an all points bulletin. Okay.
John,
all right.
You're in the graduating class at Folsom Prison. I know you know what a bolo is.
I have never done more than 25 hours in a jail.
Okay.
That's
right.
all.
I did more than that, but
hey, I get it. I get it. I've only been in and out. I never had a bolo on me, if you will.
I did a weekend in New York.
In New York. Oh, see.
Yeah.
If you have to go in, you want to go in like a small town where there's like you and like one other guy.
Well, actually, I was lucky because when I came out Monday, guess what I saw?
What?
A black judge.
Ooh, there you go.
1958. Yeah.
Oh, 1958.
And he was an activist, and my ass didn't get shit.
Oh, that's great though, man. I mean, there had to have been a lot of. I mean, I feel like there's probably still a lot of that today. Just like as a black person looking out for another black person, like I don't.
You aren't looking at TV or reading. Yes, there's a lot of that today. Trayvon Martin on up. Come on.
Well, no, I just mean like. Yes, I mean obviously that, but I mean
black judges,
just black people in general. Like if you're like, I don't know, I just feel like
they're here, John. They're here. Matter of fact, I got a couple in my family right now. My nephew, my niece, my two nieces.
Judges?
They're here. Indy, I'm fucking with By the way, what is this for?
This is my new.
You're not a white supremacist. You're not a white supremacist in disguise.
In disguise. First of all, this would be a.
Name.
This would basically be this. I mean, this is the disguise of a white supremacist. The fact that I look like this hinders me when I go out.
Actually, I know about you. I know you're the opposite, but you sure look like it, okay?
I know. Dude, when I go and do like,
When the insurrection was happening, I said, "Damn, that's John. Damn, that's John. Damn, that's John."
I looked for people with red hair, and I saw very few full, legitimately red-haired people during that,
Right,
and I was like,
all right, good.
okay, all right, see, we're not all crazy.
Right. But that lady who's now she talks for Biden. Her name is Jen Psaki.
Oh, is she the press? Yeah.
Got great.
Oh yes, yeah, red hair, yeah.
Yeah. I know what you want to do to
Well,
her. I know what you want
I
to do.
love her just because she talks and answers questions and has a demeanor that isn't
Really?
well.
Just because she talks, okay.
No, well, compared to the last woman that was in there, the things that she said, how she dealt with the press, like that wasn't.
Oh my God! Thank you. Just to get somebody who talks facts.
Yeah.
Who talks like they're a human being.
Answers the questions. Yeah.
Right. Doesn't attack the press. God.
I mean, that's.
And she's running. By the way, she's running for governor. You know
in
that,
Arkansas, right?
Hell, boy. Boy, John McCain, by the way, he was a conservative, but I loved his ass, right?
Yeah.
And that in his state got to deal with people like this one maybe becoming governor. Boy, that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah. But do you see a light at the end of the tunnel after the last 4 years?
Yeah, but the tunnel is like light years away, man.
Yeah.
Look, because with people, with the Republicans playing hardball all the time, and the Democrats always trying to be moral and ethical.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all.
It's like you won't play by the same. They're not playing the same game.
If I deal with a guy who for a whole year didn't let a guy nominate somebody to the Supreme Court because they were waiting for the next president,
Right.
And then within 3 weeks of an election,
Pushed one through.
allowed a person through. That's hard ball. That's like cement ball.
Yeah.
That's what that
it's
is.
Beyond. It's beyond. And everyone wants to be like, well, it's time to move on and move forward and forgive. And it's like we gotta make people pay the price here, guys.
Really, a guy goes in and saying hang. Did they say hang Prince? Or where?
They were either gonna hang Pence or they were looking for him or decapitate him or.
And they want to shoot and rape, I guess. Nancy Pelosi. She's about 80 now, right?
Honestly, I don't know, but politicians, some of them age more, and some of them, like if she's 80, she doesn't look 80.
White people. Okay, look, what's her name? Cicely Tyson just died at 96.
R.I.P.
Her face, looked like she could have been at least 60.
Dude, she looked younger than 60. Right. I looked at her and I was like, if I stood next to her, people would go, oof, when's John gonna go? I mean,
it's that melanin. You got to get melanin in that skin.
Yeah, I got some freckles, but it doesn't quite do the job.
So what is
this is my new podcast. This is my new podcast. It's called Speaking Highly. And what we do is
hold on, speaking of high.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, you got that joint? I gotta be high.
No, that's not what that's.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said speaking highly.
Yes, because what we do is we speak highly. We celebrate everybody and anything that makes the world a more positive, inspirational, and entertaining place to live.
But in case you're recording this without my permission, I'll let people know that I think you're a brilliant comedian, right? And no matter what you look like, you haven't been to jail. You haven't.
Well,
you're a law-abiding citizen, right? Now, it's not that you don't have warrants and should have been in jail, right? But you're just a law-abiding citizen. You're a beautiful man.
I was going to say, I have had warrants,
Now, when people find out that I actually bought an Edsel, they'll question my taste.
Bought a what?
You don't know what an Edsel. You don't know what. You're so young. You don't know what an Edsel was. Indy, do you know what an Edsel was? That was Ford's 1 year car.
1 year.
That failed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, It was called Edsel. Yes, it was named after Edsel Ford, and it was so bad it lasted for 1 year.
What was the make of the car? What was the?
Hold on,
You're gonna
hold on.
drive it into frame.
K. What are we speaking highly about?
Well-
I see you got Laurel and Hardy behind you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I got Laurel and Hardy.
You don't have Red Fox and Slappy White. I know.
I don't have any Red Fox. I got Pryor above me, but
All right. Hey, the number one monologuist of my life.
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor.
And you, and this is from coming. I don't know that people know this about you, but you were a playwright. Like you wrote a lot of plays. Is that correct?
I am a playwright.
Still.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm rewriting, re-editing something that me and Bill Duke did a long time ago called The Secret Place. It's about a cop who infiltrates a black revolutionary group and gets killed in the process.
Is it based on is it based on a true story?
Actually, I forgot the guy's name, but there was a black cop. A whole lot of black cops were sent by the police to infiltrate black revolutionary groups. And this one was made while he was in Black Panthers, and he had to go around the country hiding. And this was in like the 60s, right? So I was in my 30s at the time, and I figured that guy was about 30. He was born like me in the country. When he was a kid, black men were being lynched every week, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, Louisiana, Georgia, Mississippi, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, North Carolina, and sometimes in the North, you had every week a story about a black guy getting lynched. So my thing was, if he went through that experience and he's now infiltrating for white cops, what's going on in his head, right? So my story is about nightmares he was having back and forth until the end of it. Anyway, that's what it's about.
Wow.
A black cop who caused the death, because in infiltrating that group, which I don't call them the Black Panthers, I call them the Young Lions.
Oh, in the play. In the play, or okay.
They call them the Young Lions, and in the performance of his duties, he caused the death of one of the guys in the Young Lions, and he has nightmares about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And
This is written in like 1969.
Wait, you wrote this in 1969, and you're rewriting it now?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm editing it. I'm not rewriting it.
Editing it. Sorry. You're editing.
Well, look, what's going on is basically the same kind of thing.
I mean, that you could technically make a movie about that very thing right now. You could.
Right now, you could. As a matter of fact, infiltrating by cops, it's going on right now.
That's what
not only
January 6th.
In the Black Lives Matter, but also in those white groups. The KKK has a white cop right now, like you, getting information for the FBI.
Yeah.
We know that's true.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was what. I mean, you saw Black Klansman, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes,
You like that movie?
Yeah. I like that movie a lot.
thought it was great. I thought everyone did a great job, but that is based on that kind of thing.
The joint, I'm getting high.
Oh, that's all right. Hey, it's California, everybody.
Yeah. Now, what is Indy to you? He's your nephew, your son, your brother?
Indy is the guy who basically, he's the producer of the show. He does all the.
Oh, hi, Indy. Nice to meet you,
Garrett's like, oh, he's a producer, you say?
I question your taste in friends, but other than that.
Now, Indy basically came to me and wanted to know if I wanted to start a podcast. Brian, as you know, Brian Irwin.
Oh, yeah.
We had to stop doing. We didn't have to. We stopped doing Hollywood Anonymous.
How's Brian doing? Is he still teabagging his kids?
Not on purpose. No, not on purpose.
Okay.
But for anyone,
about that joke,
I was going to
right,
say, anybody who's just joining us, please understand that this is based on Brian Irwin's stand-up material, and Brian Irwin doesn't actually teabag his children. Just so we could clear that up.
When I first heard it, I just laughed. I was like,
Dude,
you what?
Dude, I can't tell you how amazing it was, because Brian is how we met. Brian introduced me to you, and for that, I will always be grateful. And the idea,
same here, bro, same here.
And the idea that when we would come down and do spots at your club downtown, in LA. And just the fact that it wasn't just your club and you collected money from it and stood in the back or never showed up. Like, you were always there. Like,
What money? That was an expensive hobby, motherfucker.
well, when people hear this, they're going to hear club.
11 years of helping comedians pay their rent, and I was broke as Job's turkey when that finally ended. No, I loved every minute of it. Indy, I loved every minute of it.
But hearing you laugh at our jokes when they were funny or when they got laughs from you was always amazing. You know what I mean? It was.
Well, I learned from you guys because I had the reputation of a comedian because I was an actor who was in a comedy show, but I was not a comedian.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
I wanted to talk.
Eddie is a comic genius. Chris is a comic genius, but I'm a comic pretender.
Well, I mean, you're not a pretend. In the world of stand-up, I still wouldn't call you a pretender. You've got chops. I mean, you're funny. And you didn't have any problem. You would do pretty good when you got up on stage.
As a matter of fact, I learned from you guys just to have a conversation with the audience. Don't try to be funny. Just have a conversation, and funny will come up.
Well, when it's someone like you, for sure. You know, I mean, that's just kind of just in regular conversation. That's how you are. But you say that you weren't a comedian. You didn't come from a place of comedy. I basically wanted to talk to you about SNL and just getting in there as someone who wasn't right out of Second City, didn't come from Canada, wasn't in Chicago, wasn't, they all came from snow-covered areas for the most part.
Well, I came from New Orleans. Ain't no snow there. Matter of fact, the one year in 1952 they had snow, little bitty flakes. It was a headline in the newspaper.
I bet.
You can hardly see the snow. Yeah. Right?
People were crashing cars.
I taught my workshops. It wasn't that I didn't have in history in an improvisational workshop. I did, but it was one of those workshops in the Black community in the hood. Okay, so we were improvising about real stuff. We improvised about teen pregnancy, about cop brutality, about poverty, and about the white man and what he had done, right? So my improvisational skills went from hate whitey to kill whitey. That's about it. Okay?
Well, but when you say improvisational skills,
my best jokes, John. That's my best motherfucking jokes. I didn't see no laugh whatsoever. Anyway, hate whitey to kill whitey. I thought that was funny.
It is funny.
John. Now, hey, too late. John and Gilbert particularly, those guys were just masters at it, man. Because SNL, Second City taught you comedy from what I call 1 to 100. You could really get in there and just be funny without even thinking about it. Particularly Gilda, who was just, to this day, I marvel. You never knew she was working. You know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah. She didn't seem on, but you were always laughing at what she was doing and what she was saying.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Right. She was the first one cast, right, on SNL. Gilda was the first one, yeah.
And I was the last one. And I got in not as a comedian, I got in as a writer. Because the play I talked about, The Secret Place, when Lauren went to New York City, he was Black writer too. So the word got around and I went with my play and he read the play and for some odd reason, maybe because he had bad taste, he said, I want you.
Well, also, wait, so that's the same play you're rewriting now or editing now, the same play you're editing now.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So I got in as a writer and really for like the 4 months or so before we actually opened, I had no ideas whatsoever. I kept looking for a funny idea, and I had none whatsoever. And the word got around, and Ann Beats, who was the head writer, and Al Franken, who was the next head, began to say, get rid of this motherfucker.
Because you hadn't written anything?
Right. So one time I was in NOLA Studios. You ever been to New York City?
I have.
It's on 57th Street.
Okay.
Right. Now, SNL was on Studio 88 on 49th Street and 6th Avenue. So we used to rehearse in those studios. And one time it came to me, I did have a great idea because in the play, the black group jokes about how little money they get if the whole fundraising with all black people, as opposed to fundraising with just a few white people, right? And they credited that to white guilt. So they would joke about how white guilt got them a lot of money. So I said, that's my idea, right? So I'm in all the studios for 2 hours later. I go back to 8H, and you know who has the idea and writing it? Al Franken.
Same.
He got it from Tom Schiller. I don't know if you know, but Tom Schiller's father was a writer for I Love Lucy. I think
wow.
Bob. Right. So Tom had given the idea to Al, and Al just took it and wrote it like it was his own. Didn't give me credit at all.
Wow.
Right. And later on, I had to do it. But meanwhile, I'm stewing like a motherfucker. Right. And I'm the only black guy there. So I had about a week to think whether I would pull what they expect of black guys, and that is go crazy on the motherfucker. So finally, I decided when I go to work this summer, tell this motherfucker he stole my idea, and if it comes to fisticuffs, we're gonna get into it. Now, at the same time, I knew that Al was a wrestling champ from Harvard. Did you know?
I didn't know he was a wrestler. No, I did not.
I knew that then, but I was mad. I'm 5'6" at the time. Al was maybe 5'8", and he had about 40 pounds on me. So I know my ass is going to get.
That'd be a great pay-per-view fight now.
I was so mad, I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I wanted to give him a couple of weeks, hurt him, and then let him hurt me. I got back to work that day, and Jesus, you're a Christian? You're a Christian?
Not necessarily, no.
I'm a Buddhist, but I may see Jesus was in the plans. Because when I got there, somebody came and said, hey, Garrett, Lauren wants to see you in the green room. So I go to the green room, and Lauren, Gilda, John, Lorraine, and Jane are looking at the movie I made called Cooley High.
Yeah, 1975.
Here's the deal. One of my duties was to get black people to audition because Jon Lauren not only wanted a black writer, he wanted a black member of the Not Ready for Primetime Players. So I was trying to lose the guy. Here's what I mean. You know who Oba Babatunde is?
What?
Oba Babatunde is an Emmy winner.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I had him come and audition. I'm trying to lose the motherfucker, right? There was a woman, Trezana Beverly, who was a Tony Award winner. I had her come in and audition. I'm trying to lose it, right?
Meaning you're trying to get someone to replace you at this point.
At this point, I wasn't a figure. In other words, I wasn't being considered, except that I didn't know what was going on in the green room. That was going on in the green room. They had told Lauren, say, you got this guy beating other people. He's an actor. Look at his movie. So that's what Lauren was doing, but I didn't know that.
Gotcha.
So when the movie was over, Lauren said to me, Garrett, I want you to audition for the Not Ready for Primetime Players. So I auditioned with Gilda, thank God, because I'm a counterpuncher when it comes to improv, right? She was a boom, boom. And our assignment was, I was supposed to be a taxi driver. She is a passenger from a plane ride to JFK. She's on a taxi ride from JFK to New York City. So you know what taxi drivers do?
Chat?
They drive you wherever they want to drive you. Right.
They screw you out of money by taking you the long way.
That's what I'm doing, and they're falling out only because I'm the straight man, and Gil is giving me shit, right? So sure enough, after that, that's when I was hired to be the Not Ready for Primetime Player.
Wow. What I saw, you have a screen test online where you start with a fart. I don't know if you remember that. It's like there's the green screen behind you and you're looking at the camera and it just says the label on YouTube is Garrett Morris's SNL screen test. And it's like you're literally sitting there and then there's a fart and you don't even acknowledge, you just kind of eyeball the camera and then you just keep going and you're like, okay. And I mean,
you had to bring out shit like that,
dude.
Man. I thought I was here for you.
Fart.
Talk highly of.
I am, dude. Farts are always going to be funny to me.
When you talk about farting, I do remember that. Yes, it came out. I'm sorry. It's got more room out than in, okay? And I figured, hey, this is comedy. Let it out.
Hey, I mean, look, the screen test was great. Was that Dan Aykroyd? He was supposed to come out for that, and like you guys.
I remember. I don't remember the particulars of it, but I remember me and Dan doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, just there's so much going on back then. The fact that you can even remember any of it is impressive to me. I can barely remember last week.
I remember the fart pot, John.
Well, you can't forget that. That's farting is
You can't forget a fart.
farting is classic. So they read your play. They hired you as a writer. They see Cooley High. They hire you as an actor.
No, not they. Not they. Lauren read the play, hired me. Then I think together, the other group influenced him to let me audition, and I became a Not Ready for Primetime.
Were you? And
I might say, throughout the 5 years I was there, I did a lot of things that he should have fired me for, but he never did.
We'll get to that because that to me is kind of a sign of the times you were living in when you were doing all that shit you weren't supposed to be doing. Meaning if you tried that shit today on the show, you would be canned immediately. You wouldn't even be hired if they knew that's how you behaved. But back then, that behavior didn't stop Lauren. I mean, it wasn't like people didn't know Belushi was a little bit wild. He was hired almost yes, talented, but his wildness was what made him a commodity. It made people excited.
And I don't know about him, but there was some objection to me throughout the show. But Lauren seemed to be the kind of guy, if he hired you, he'll fire you.
Yeah, especially then. Yeah.
Yeah, which I appreciated. But to this day, I appreciate the fact that he was patient with me because I recognized that a whole lot of stuff I did, I don't like to say I regret any part of my life, but that's what I was then. And he accepted it.
Yeah, when you say you don't regret, it's because like if you're like me, I think there are things I look at and I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, or maybe that was a mistake. But
yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
But those things led you to where you are now. You know what I mean? It's like,
right. And to say that I wasn't 100% in it is what you mean, sort of when you say I regret. No, I was on cocaine. And I was 100% in there.
Yeah.
I don't blame it even on cocaine because cocaine is a choice.
Yeah.
So I was.
Yeah.
I was not the most pleasant guy to be around.
When did
part of it had to do with what Al had done because what he did caused me not to have any writing credits. So in fact, when Lauren put me on the Not Ready for Primetime players, it was like an agreement between him and the forces that be that either you get rid of him or you hire, and he hired me. So when he hired me, he canceled out my writing credit. So although I wrote later on, I never got writing credit. And one of the things that pissed me off was that was the year, I know it was the only year, but the year in which Saturday Night Live was in fact nominated, and they all got Emmys, and I don't have one. Although my idea, the White Guilt Release Fund, you can check that right now on YouTube.
It's there.
Was the funniest things that year.
And that was, you said that was your last season? Or was that the first season that it was nominated?
The first season was nominated, yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, the Emmy thing is such a weird, like when you really get into it, like who gets them and who doesn't. And just because a show wins doesn't mean like there's no production assistants walking around with Emmys. You know what I mean? And those guys are the backbones of the whole thing. It's like,
right.
It's rough. I've kind of seen that a little bit firsthand with some friends, just like being just to the left of the people that receive the award. You know what I mean? It's like,
like if you get an Emmy for this, Indy ain't gonna get no credit whatsoever.
I'll say, if I get an Emmy for this podcast, I'll give it to Indy. He can have it. But you see, when did that kind of like? You said it started with Al Franken. You were bitter right away, almost. I mean, it was like he takes your idea and you're immediately pissed.
I was bitter for quite a while because I was still in a kind of mentality about white liberals. Okay, and there was a way in which I looked at him, particularly since he was a Jew, in a certain kind of liberal way, and it really was opening my eyes, not as if some other stuff hadn't happened, but, I came from my history in New York includes lobbying for the desegregation of Access Equity, of AFTRA and SAG, along with Jews, right? So my first experience was we worked together.
Wow. So
Right?
you helped
So
lobby to get.
you may not know it. SAG was segregated, AFTRA was segregated, and Equity was segregated.
What year was
But
this?
in the 60s.
God damn. Even SAG?
Hell yeah. By that I mean it was unofficial, right? Because there was literally nobody who had a card who was black. Maybe City Poitiers, maybe. But other than that, you had 99% white in all of the unions. So we marched for at least a year to desegregate it. And finally they got a black Access Equity had its first black president, Fred Wilkerson, I think was his name. But that's how the desegregation of those unions happened, right? They were basically 99% white.
Oh man, I didn't even realize that.
I'm getting back to the Jew thing. That is my experience was that we all work together. No, we are equally being affected by a fucked up system. Even though you're a white Jew, that shit coming at you too.
Yeah. They were facing, prejudice on a regular basis. Yeah.
The sign says no Negroes, no Jews, no Irishmen. That's what the signs used to say. Okay. So it wasn't as if he didn't understand. We had a mutual understanding of who the enemy really is.
Well, those signs, I understand no Irishmen. I can see that, why you wouldn't want them in your establishment in general. But the rest of it is disgusting to me.
Okay, you said about Irishmen, but I'm a guy who's known a couple of Irish ladies, okay? I will not be, now I'm 83, but I look back, no, I wouldn't segregate against them at all. Okay?
Well, that's first of all, good for you for getting involved and you clearly wanted to make things better. When you lobby to do stuff like that, get rid of segregation on any level, you have a mindset of wanting to change the system.
We marched. It was a combination of blacks, whites, Jews, Asians, and Latinos. Raul Julia was one of the people he was among us. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. That's historic. You know what I mean? That's really interesting. So.
Oh, and she just died. Oh, shucks. She played Rhoda. Who played Rhoda? You know what I mean?
Not Cloris Leachman.
No. She just died.
Rhoda is
oh shucks, I'll think of it.
Not Mary Tyler Moore. What? Who's Rhoda?
She was Mary Tyler Moore's best friend in the Mary Tyler Moore show. Yeah. I will think of it before it's over.
Okay. Not B. Arthur. That's Maud, right?
No.
Sorry, all white ladies look alike to me.
Okay, well, you said it.
Well, so we can move on, but excuse me. But you get to SNL and you have that mindset of we are working together, like we can do this, and you went in there. I'm guessing,
and that was another thing that really fucked me up about what he did.
Yeah, just having
that he didn't come and say, "Look, Tom gave me this idea that you had. I'm working on it." He was the assistant head writer. He could have said, "Look, I'm writing it, and I'll give you credit." He could have said that.
Yeah.
Right? He could have said, "Check it out, see what you think." He didn't say that.
Do you think that speaks to even then, because you hear about it now a little bit, and I guess maybe even more so in the 90s, but you have to get ideas on the air. And if you don't, you're not on the show.
Don't talk to nobody about it. Don't talk to nobody.
So him taking your thing could have been a week of him going, I don't have fucking anything this week. Got it. Right. I'm the head writer.
Matter of fact, Tom Davis, whom I love, and he were having trouble with Franklin and Davis, right? So that might have been it.
Yeah,
that might have been it. I got this one. Yeah,
I don't know if you read Tom Davis's book, 39 Years of Short-Term Memory Loss.
No, I didn't. I should.
It's on. I listened to it. A comic, Paul Morrissey, recommended it because it had a lot of Grateful Dead stories. But what a tremendous talent Tom Davis was. I mean,
what fantastic man, beautiful.
Really seemed like such a good guy and really just funny and by all accounts an enjoyable person to be around, which
I had a magazine I was trying to publish, and before it got on, he promised to write a piece for it and did.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Huh.
but I never was. I lost a lot of money trying to do it, but
Oh.
win some, you lose some.
Yes, you do, man. Yes, you do. But so you go in with a good attitude, immediately it's soured, and then for 5 years, what is your thought? Is it just, I got to plow through this? This is how I'm making my money. This is going to be my stepping stone. Were you, once you got on as an actor,
All
were
of
you
that.
happy?
All of that.
Were you happy that at least you were a talent on screen?
I was paying. No, I had been out of work until he came, so I was paying the rent on time. Yeah, and I was with some basically talented people, and I was learning. Actually, I was learning a lot. I was watching people, particularly Gilda, and John too, how they did stuff.
That's like a master class in
Yeah,
improv.
well.
I mean, you don't, those aren't people that you could ever ask. Like, if you wrote a movie and were like, my teachers in improv were these people go, that's ridiculous, you know?
Right. And my thing was to relax and allow stuff to happen and to agree, which I hadn't been doing. Okay.
What do you mean agree?
If you throw something at me like you're drunk, I go with drunk and do whatever. Okay. As opposed to say, no, you're not drunk. Or if I say, you know, you're not drunk, have something you're going to agree with.
You yes and, yeah.
Yeah, right. And then you take it and go on. You know?
Yeah.
But my time in the other workshops was valuable too as well, because basically you relax and not looking for funny. It comes up, right? So in the black workshops, it wasn't that things weren't sometimes funny, it just would come up.
Did you watch any of Richard Pryor's sketch show that he had?
Are you kidding? Am I black? Hello, you watched it,
Yeah.
right?
Which is what I was going to say. I was going to say, if you said no, I'd go, hey, look how white I am. I saw it. Where are you on this?
Who was the woman, the funniest woman on this show?
I can't remember. I'm just thinking about this.
Marsha.
Oh, Warfield?
Marsha
Yeah,
Warfield,
dude,
yes.
she's hilarious. Hilarious,
yes.
I'm just thinking of.
But he was, to me, just a total genius, man. I met him when I did Saturday Night Live, and at that time, because I was fucking up, I was a called celeb among many black groups who had never seen Garrett Morris. So they didn't know I had 17 years in New York before Saturday Night Live discovered me.
Right, yeah, overnight.
Then I had written 2 plays that I had, in fact, been a high school teacher at Pier 71 on the Lower East Side, that I had 10 years of working with Harry Belafonte as a musical arranger and singer, and that I had about at least 30 plays, 2 or 3 on Broadway. They thought I was just some motherfucker that Lauren had gotten out of nowhere. I had paid some heavy dues, but they didn't know that. So when Richard got to New York, that's what he carried with him. So basically, he didn't even speak to me, right, when he got there. Now, this is the man who, till this day, till I die, is the greatest monologuist I have ever heard, right? Because he could combine politics and comedy so that you knew he was doing it.
Dude.
You'd hear his stuff 2 or 3 times before you realize, oh, he's talking about the government. You know?
Yeah.
Nowadays, yeah, some great comic geniuses like Dave Chappelle, like Eddie, like Chris, they do great ingenious comedy, but more often than not, you know they're at the government, right? More often than not, you know that.
Yeah.
But with Richard, it would take you'd be on the floor laughing at the joke. You'd have to hear that record twice. For me, oh, wait a minute, he's talking about Lyndon Johnson. You know what I mean? But I mean, for me, when he came and didn't use me, he brought his own group. Didn't use me. It really hurt me.
Wow, man.
And to this thing, he didn't know. But when I got to New York City, I got an invitation from Michael Apted, who was doing a Richard Pryor movie called A Critical Condition.
Oh, yeah. You're in critical condition.
And they asked me to do a role.
Oh, fuck.
He never said I'm sorry or anything like that. But I took it to this day to me that was his way of saying
he realized he had been wrong about you.
right.
Yeah, and he and probably felt foolish for listening to what other people said, especially in a world where people would talk shit about him all the time, and he'd have to fight those rumors, and he'd have to fight that shit.
His choices were challenged too.
Yeah, of course.
His choices were challenged too. Mine in Saturday Night Live were challenged, rightly so. You don't have to disagree with me with my choices, but challenging my esteem is something you have no right to.
Yeah.
Challenging my belief, whatever, something you have no right to do. You disagree with the joke, okay, cool. But to tell me I'm not about, in this case, 100%, 1,000% dying for the sake of Black liberation, which I am, you're absolutely wrong, okay?
Yeah.
Because I had not only people on the and the NAACP even wrote me a letter, man.
What'd they say?
And here's the reason. Well, here's the reason why. You might agree with it when I tell you the joke. You see, there was a show I was in at the Negro Ensemble Company in which the writer had a song he wrote, which was about the competition between the NAACP, the Black Panthers, Corps, SNCC, all telling the country that they were blacker than the other.
Okay.
Right? So his song was called "I'm Blacker Than You Are, Nigga."
Okay.
So I had already peeped that problem and thought he was ingenious to hook it up with something that you can laugh at, right? Because I'm sort of like, I'm almost like, what's his name? Lyndon Baines Johnson, right? Who lost the next election because he was not about just being on the right side or the left, right? When he lost the next election because he went to the wrong side and brought in voting rights and stuff like that, right? But I'm not being a comedian who only criticizes white KKK people.
Right.
I'll criticize black motherfuckers too, who I think are dysfunctional.
Well,
So wait a minute. So me and Michael O'Donoghue came up with an idea of a black guy who hated white so much he didn't even want white teeth.
okay.
So we came up with a black toothpaste.
Like that would black your teeth out?
Hell yes. Sure enough, people found out about it before we could even do it. And I got a letter.
So they were pissed at that sketch. They were like, hey, this is... First of all, how does that get out? How does that... You and Michael O'Donoghue are writing something. How does anyone...
I believe it was a crew member, because there were two black crew members, one of whom I had gotten a job for. He was one of the people who wasn't going to work that week if we did it.
Wow. But you had written it.
Michael, actually, that we came up with the idea together because I told him about the idea. He said, well, let me go write something, right? He said, Garrett, what about, he doesn't like white toothpaste. I said, hey, that's great. So then Michael was working on it, and we actually started rehearsing it. And somebody on the floor probably called in and said, look, this motherfucker's going crazy, okay? Get his ass straight. And sure enough, I got that. They didn't mention that, but I knew what it was about.
And that sketch never aired? You never did it?
No aired, no.
Was it, the decision was Lorne Michaels was just like, we're getting letters, people are already pissed, we're not doing it?
No, that was never said. It just, Michael came one day and said, hey, look.
They're cutting it.
They're cutting it.
Oh, man, what's that? That feeling has got to suck. When you write something, you finally get a good idea. You got an idea. You got a sketch. It's going to be.
I to be safe, I even let a white man write it.
But to me, the safe thing is that you also think it's funny.
I thought I was being safe.
I thought the safe thing was that you helped come up with the concept. You know what I mean? Like, if as a white audience member,
Okay.
knowing that you helped come up with the concept and you're the actor in the sketch, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, white people didn't complain. It was the NAACP. And despite Miss Duracell, there are black people in ACP. What's her name? Duracell? No, not
Dosa-
that's a battery, Garrett.
No, no.
Duracell is a battery.
Rachel Dosell. Rachel Dozell?
Yeah.
The girl who
You did it
pretended
wrong,
the
too.
girl who pretended to be black, who was really white.
Right. Well, now look, and I want to check that out. Look, there are a lot of white girls who do want to wear cornrows, but they don't because they're going to get lambasted by white people. Why? Because suddenly it does translate their biology a little bit. But the white girl don't mind. A lot of white girls do not mind. They think it's a beautiful hairdo.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand all of the. I do understand the slight hypocrisy.
Well, yeah. I mean,
but not the fact that she chose to present herself biologically.
yeah. The presentation doesn't bother me.
There are black women who perm their hair to this day. Black men too, right? Okay. Nobody says nowadays. They don't say shit. Before they get a lot of attention from the black community, but nowadays it's about if you're a woman, particularly, you can do your hair any way you want, except black white woman. That's true.
Okay.
You're not both things. If a white girl does that, wait a minute. I even know of a friend of mine. A friend of mine whose girlfriend. No, my girlfriend's white friend, right? A very abused lady who had a husband who was very abusive. No, I'm telling my niece had a white friend who said, Sherry, because Sherry doesn't wear her hair in cornrows. And the woman loved it. She said, how do you do your hair like that, right? She said, well, could you do something? How much would it cost? Sherry said, $300. She said, come to my house and do it. So she's in the middle of doing it. Her husband comes in. That's for black woman. You don't do that. As if the hair is going to change her biology, right? Right, but she was a very abused woman, and she stopped my niece right in the middle of it. She still had to pay her some money. And the man really, he was like a racist motherfucker. He didn't see it as just another hairstyle. If you are women in general, usually you can wear your hair any way you want, except don't do black white woman.
That's well, I mean, to me, the hairstyle isn't the thing. It's just how honest you are with who you are. You know what I mean? Like the Rachel Dozell
I want to see you do cornrows, okay, motherfucker?
Well, my hair is too wispy and too thin.
Or do drag, what you call it, with the Rastafarians
Dreads?
Do dreads.
I wanted dreads when I was younger. I did.
Yes. See,
Because I was like
he
into.
says he wanted them, Indy. He didn't say he wore.
No, I couldn't. My hair's too thin. I can't dread my hair. There's just no way. It would fall out.
Any excuse is better than none. Yeah. Look, I have a niece, Kay. Okay, come here for a minute.
And then have him turn the TV down in the background.
Oh, the TV here?
I can hear it, yeah.
Okay. Lean in to the picture for me, baby. Lean in a little bit so you can see. See how dressed?
Okay. Oh, yeah. But see,
Okay,
but was that done in a salon? Was that?
No, your girlfriend does that, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, her girlfriend. And also, can you turn the TV down a little bit?
Yeah, there's no TV on. That was us.
Oh,
There's no TV.
I was just here. I
What are you
was
hearing?
hearing something. I don't know. Sorry. My bad.
Indy.
That was we'll keep it down.
Okay.
I'm hallucinating.
All right. Okay.
Well, to get back to SNL though, you talked about
By the way, John, I haven't eaten my breakfast yet. So okay.
what? You haven't had your breakfast yet?
No, I haven't.
Why not?
John, I got to my exercise at 20 minutes to 12.
Oh man,
So I had to prepare for you.
dude, I got up at 4:30 so I could get everything in just so I could be ready for this. I'm just kidding.
Well, I didn't have to do all the shit you had to do. All I had to come and sit and talk.
Exactly. You talked about Gilda being someone that was. Oh no, I know what I want to talk about. When I brought up the Richard Pryor show, when you were talking about the improv that you used to do being more almost dramatic in the sense, and like comedy
Yeah,
coming
well-
from these real life situations.
Right.
That was like
Whereas with SNL, you're primed to make jokes.
it starts out from a wacky place a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it talks out from a place of making it funny throughout.
Yeah. There was I just recall the very a sketch from the Richard Pryor show that's just burned into my memory where he comes home from work. Like I'm watching it as like a younger person, I'm watching this show and I'm like, it's Richard Pryor, so this is going to be hilarious, you know? And then he comes home from work and he's drunk and he passes out on the couch. And then his wife comes in and she's like soothing, like rubbing his head and soothing him. But then she like does this kind of monologue that's like not funny, but really moving and like a kind of a description of that time and place and the shit they had to put up with. And it was just, I was watching it like, well, this isn't comedy, is it? Like, you know, but that's also before I learned more about Richard Pryor and could lean into it.
That's when I remember that's when he was being totally political. And here's the first time he was totally political. When he had a joke, I think it was NBC, CBS, and he told CBS he wanted a joke about how he got his job. Because remember, before that, he was jobless or had no work because he was so controversial, right? So this TV station comes up with a job, right? And in order to show what the negotiation were for this job, he says, I want y'all to let me show the audience how I got this job. And sure enough, he dropped his drawers and turned his ass to the audience. And they blacked it out. Now, I don't know if it showed, but that was the first joke he made.
Wow, on the show.
That was the first joke. Yes, that was the first
That's
joke.
awesome. The cold open was like the Star Wars bar. That's a really famous sketch. Yeah.
Yeah, oh God, yes.
Yeah.
That's a fact. I love that. I love that part of Star Wars.
Yeah. But that idea, like I think it's just interesting that where you came out of a place that was like dramatic improv, you end up on a show with these kind of high energy goofballs and you see someone like Gilda and you immediately know, okay, that's talent. She's great. How quickly did you figure everyone else out? Like, how did you, was it immediate? Were they all on? Was it like, you know, this is someone I'm going to like, this is someone I'm not going to like?
It wasn't a matter of figuring, because I didn't try to figure her out. She just presented in such a totally ingenious way.
Yeah.
Particularly when she came on the stage and started with that assignment, and she started it, and I said, "Oh shit," you know, and I'm just reacting. But I had an immediate friendship with some of the people. Jane Curtin, for instance. Although I haven't talked to her in a while, but still, I consider her a great friend. Lorraine Newman and I talk.
Lorraine, I see all over Twitter now. She's I follow her on Twitter now. Yeah, very funny.
Yeah. Gilda, of course. You know, who else? Danny and I formed a thing, and Jon. But I don't know. Something happened with both Danny and Jon and me, because towards the 34th year, it was almost like they became 180 degrees in another direction concerning me.
Could that just have been them just kind of like getting their?
I think so. I think that had to do with me as well, because I was an asshole. You know, by the third or fourth year, I was an asshole. You know,
in terms of your ego, or in terms of what do you mean?
I just totally asshole from a whole lot of stuff that I felt hadn't been. You know, because it would go 4 or 5 weeks before something would be written for me or something like that. You know, and I was an asshole. You know, I was reacting to it in a way that probably I shouldn't. But my choice was to, because what's the word? I'm an introvert naturally.
Yeah.
So I resort to my introversion. I didn't. One of the things you got to do is, for instance, you know that golf game they talk about for business
Yeah.
transactions. Well, after the show, going to the bar to hang out with the troupe is that same golf game where you form
Deals
alliances,
are made, and yeah.
right, which I didn't do for like years, right? So they had to decide I was a snoop, an asshole, or whatever. Anyway,
You didn't
that I didn't do.
you didn't like those after parties at all? Those are like legendary.
It's not so much liking. If you're an introvert, it's not about liking
It's not being
John.
comfortable.
It's that right. It's not being comfortable with, but not that you don't know that. But once or twice I would go down, but for the most part, I didn't. So that was my choice, and my karma was such that I suffered for it.
Yeah, I feel I feel that too a little bit, just in the sense that earlier on in what I was doing in LA, I was not about going out and hanging out at comedy clubs all the time. And like, I had other friends and I would kind of like do my own thing, and the deals were made and people were found and discovered and things happened in those areas where I wasn't hanging out because I was doing other shit. And, it's just who I was. So I'm not no regrets.
I want to ask you, because how's this time affecting your stand up?
You mean the pandemic and everything? Yeah, I've done 3 Zoom shows since it started. I haven't been on the road at all. I've been writing. I've been really trying to, and then starting this podcast has been really therapeutic for me, just because it gives me a chance to talk to people and see people and kind of get out of my apartment without getting out of my apartment. And then writing, just a lot more writing than I've ever done. So
Same here. I just had my vaccination, Marty.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I still got another one to go.
Yeah.
Have you been?
No, I haven't. But my mom's boyfriend.
White privilege, man. You ain't taking that man into that shit.
I'm too.
Don't you know more white people are being vaccinated right now than blacks? And hey, you my friend. I don't give a shit. Take that man. Go get yourself.
Believe me, as soon as I can,
Get yourself
I'm getting it. Don't. I'm not even gonna hesitate. But we gotta.
Now look, I don't want to cut this short, but I gotta eat. So
Yeah.
anything.
Yes. Really quick, I just want to ask about how you think the show now compares to the show when you were on it, in the sense that, like, do you think you're more ballsy? Do you think?
I don't really like to do
No?
that. No, I've done it before and realized I shouldn't have done that.
It's just different.
Look, yeah, because when Lauren in 1975, it was like having a really ripe watermelon. By that, it was totally new. Nobody had been doing it before. And if you handle it right, it was going to stick out, right?
Yeah.
And it had no real thing coming back at you,
Yeah.
right? The backlash from white people was no backlash. It was funny, right? Nowadays, if you do that same trip, even on Saturday Night Live, you're gonna need a lot of balls, right? To really criticize Trump, for instance, which they do. Thank God for his name,
Alec Baldwin.
who does it.
Yeah, Alec. Yeah.
Alec Baldwin, right? And Stephen Colbert has a lady who does his wife Melania.
Oh no, I haven't. I haven't seen that.
Oh, you should see it. She does Melania. Yes. But the comedians, I'm sure a lot of them are writers. Most of them are writers, but they have a writing staff too, who makes choices.
Yeah.
So it isn't ballsy as ours was maybe, but
there were no expectations when you were doing it. Yeah.
and like when Tina Fey was in, I like what she did.
Yeah, she's really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, really funny.
Yeah.
And there have been some very funny people, including people now, who are in it.
Yeah. I was just curious. That's a good answer though. That's solid because, like you said, it's not that you can. It's apples and oranges. It's like you were making a show back in a time when no one knew what the show was going to be or how it was going to affect society. Now we know with the internet, everything, that clips are going to be online the next day. That people are going to watch the show in chunks. It's not going to be the same as it was in 1975 when people gathered around their TV at 11:30 on a fucking Saturday night to watch that show. You know what I mean?
And now it's in your face. Way back there, if there had been an insurrection, they could have made jokes about it and nobody would have gotten it right away in their face. Now, those motherfuckers saw people break in with guns, with poles, with hang pins. Whereas Nancy, if you make real jokes about it, they're going to come at your ass.
Yeah.
They're coming at, what's her name? Help me, the lady who, Cheney.
Oh,
Hey, I hated her father, what he did to her.
Oh, Liz Cheney, yeah.
There was no WMDs, right? But she showed monumental courage in doing what she did. And the 10 people who voted, who said, no, he didn't win, showed monumental courage. Mind you, when you have seen an insurrection, it takes monumental courage to say what you actually saw. Because there are motherfuckers who are so gaslighted, they're going to tell you, no, that didn't happen.
It's insane.
There are straight Kool-Aid drinkers right now who will go to a Caribbean island with Trump right now. Including that bitch, excuse me, you just said her name, she's in there right now. Oh, she's the one who believes in.
Oh, yes, MTG or whatever her name is.
All liberals, I assume you're one, we're all sexual predators who fuck children, who pedophiliacs, who are in a basement between a pizza joint having fun with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. It's a big party. It's a big party.
They believe that. They believe that.
Well, Garrett.
How many, this is your first or second, third, fourth?
We've done probably like 8 or 9 of interviews, but we've only put out 2 so far. So,
well, congratulations. And remember the states I say: Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, North Carolina, South Carolina.
These are real specific, real specific.
And a bolo means be on the lookout, John.
Thank you. All points, but be on the lookout. That I get.
Yes.
Well, Garrett, thank you so much for taking the time, man. Again, it's
a pleasure. I love you.
I love you too, dude.
I feel honored that you did my club. Okay. And I'm happy to see you. You're on your way. At Indy, I still question your taste in friends, but you know what you're gonna do. I have him as a friend too, so we're both, fucked up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Garrett. I really appreciate it, man.
And both of you don't do nothing I wouldn't do. Shut up. Just shut up.
All right. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right.
I love you too, buddy. Take it easy.
Okay.
All right. That was Conversation with Garrett Morris.
Oh, my God. What a fucking character. I love him so much. He's so
awesome. The dude
awesome.
is a trip, man. He is a trip. He is very funny and always, like I said, just a nice guy, willing to take the time to talk to us, even though he hadn't had breakfast.
I didn't know. I didn't know people that
super
age
early
had
in the
breakfast
morning.
so late.
That's what I said. I'm like, dude, I ate like 4 hours ago, man. How are you eating after me? But guys, Garrett's great. He doesn't have anything going on right now in the sense that you should check him out here or there, but go back, watch old SNLs, watch Cooley High, watch
his screen test on
Critical
YouTube.
Condition.
You have to check out. It's great.
Definitely watch that screen test on YouTube. He does start it with a fart. That's really funny to me. But yeah, that's SNL the first 5 years. Garrett Morris. Thank you so much for checking it out. And my Instagram is @JON_HUCK. And my Twitter is @JONHUCK, one word.
Yeah.
Indy?
Oh, yeah. I'm at Indy Fawcett. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. See you next time.
Yeah.